We've come all the way from Australia for this event. We came to see it because my mate here's been 4 or 5 times to this event and he couldn't stop raving to me how good it was. So I had to come and see for myself.
This is the fairgrounds in Pleasanton, California, and you're looking at just a portion of the more than 3,000 of the nation's finest hot rods, customs, and street machines gathered here this weekend for the 7th annual Good Guys West Coast Nationals. Hot rodding had some crude beginnings in the late 40s and early 50s with a lot of backyard machinery, but it's grown into this tremendous motorsport that today involves thousands of people, a huge industry, and families all across the country that enjoy taking this variety of street machines on the road. You'll see sedans, roadsters, customs, pro street, sedan deliveries, you name it, they're all here, and they're the cream of the crop. Hi, I'm Kenny Youngblood, and I'd like to welcome you to the 7th annual Good Guys West Coast Nationals.
Street rodding is about old cars, and it's about kind of reliving the old days. A lot of us older guys are, that grew up in the 50s, we like to create those old days. Kind of like American Graffiti, the movie, or Happy Days, with Fonzie and stuff. Those were fun days for us. So street rodding is kind of a rebirth of that with our old cars, our Model A's, our Model T's, our 32 Fords, our 57 Chevys, that kind of stuff. And it's just a way to relive the past.
The busiest man on campus, even though he never really looks like it, is head good guy Gary Metters. Gary, the Good Guys West Coast Nationals is by far the biggest event on the West Coast. How does it compare to other Good Guys events around the country?
Well, I guess in second place would be our event at Indianapolis. This, of course, is our biggest. But Indianapolis this year was a little over 3,000 hot rods and custom cars, and a whole lot of spectators, and a whole lot of swap meet guys, and a whole lot of drag race guys, and just a whole lot of everything. But this Pleasanton deal is outstanding.
Well, great. I tell you what, you describe it as laid-back atmosphere here, but for those of us who suffer from hot rod fever, the Good Guys West Coast Nationals is going to bring you to a boil. I'll bet this is one machine that just about stops traffic. Kathy, what are some of the reactions you get from people?
Well, we've had people wanting us to pull over on the side of the road to ask us just what is it? And, of course, we yell across the freeway to everybody and let them know it's a Nash. You know, a lot of people don't understand that even though it's ugly, you paint it pink and it's gorgeous. So it draws all kinds of attention.
Living proof that hot rods can come in all shapes and sizes, and there's infinite possibilities. This is the creation behind me here that was built by
my brother, Roger Rouse.
And did you have something to do with it too, Kathy?
I had almost everything to do with it. They just asked me what, would be nice to do, and we wanted to keep it kind of off the wall, and Nash says it all, so.
Well, that's great. Will they admit to it? That you helped them that much?
I doubt it.
But I believe you.
Thank you.
We're honored to have Tom Medley with us. Tom Stroker McGurk Medley, a living legend in the street rod world. Well, Tom, it's been almost 25 years since that first Street Rod Nationals. How do you feel about what's happened today?
Well, I think the thing that's happened is it's went from a kind of a backyard sport to a real professional thing, which in a lot of ways is good because it has spawned an industry and it's got a lot more people into it via the glass bodies and all the things that if you had to go out and find all the 32 roadsters that are around here were all steel ones, I think Henry would turn over his grave. He didn't make that many. They were all crushed before the war. But I think it's the general public has now accepted these cars because they realize that they're not some junk running down the highway. They're really well-engineered cars, and they're actually a lot safer than a lot of the cars that you see running down the road.
Oh, we have a good class of cars too, but the standard here is outstanding. It really is. The guys here think, and the work involved in their cars here, the Australian guys, I think, are scared to put as much into them as these guys have. I've got to buy one. I don't own one. I'm going to buy one. I've got to have a rod.
An integral part of street rodding has always been car clubs, and one of the oldest, finest, and definitely most prestigious clubs in the country are the LA Roadsters. This year we're talking about living legends here, people who've had tremendous impact on the sport of hot rodding, and the LA Roadsters as a group is really one of those people being honored as a living legend. What's your special guest here, I understand, this year, right?
Yes, we're the featured club, and Gary's honored us with a special parking spot. And it's always a class event, and Gary Metters always takes good care of the people that come here. We're really enjoying ourselves.
Tom, when did the LA Roadsters really get rolling?
LA Roadsters was founded in 1957. It was started by one of the members, Dick Scritchfield, and then grew from there.
Obviously, the LA Roadsters is limited to open cars only. What kind of cars and limitations do members have to fall into?
Well, basically, they're all Roadsters, like you mentioned, and they're from 1937 down. The majority of cars are 32 Fords. We have some 36 Phaetons, some 34 Roadsters, Model A Roadster pickups, but the majority of them are 32 Fords.
Great, very representative of the club, and top-of-the-line club it is, the LA Roadsters.
Here at Pleasanton in California, of course, the sun shines. It's a beautiful place. The Alameda County Fairgrounds. It's held in August of each year. This is our 7th annual event. There's over 3,000 hot rods and custom cars here, and about 210 exhibitors, manufacturers. Entertainment every day and every night by bands from out of the 50s with, names like Papa Clutch and the Shifters and the Heartbeats and those kinds of guys. It's just a fun experience. It just goes on actually it starts on Thursday. It's a 4-day happening. And lots of us just get together, hang out, and maybe you haven't seen your buddy for a year or two, and draws people from about 40 different states. So, there's lots of people here from Texas and Tennessee and Ohio and Illinois, all over the place. And maybe we haven't seen them for a year, so everybody's going, hey, what's happening, Fred? And they're busy talking. It's just a fun deal.
Oh, hey!
Just going together and far from finished, but this radical piece by Jimmy Z is stopping the crowd here. Jimmy, what gave you the idea for this, and what is it?
It's a 47 Chevy, just building it to have a good time, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, Jimmy, and this is the metal man here?
Dwayne Ellis.
Dwayne, this is going to be really something when you get her done. Do you feel like there's a competition here every year at Pleasanton to outdo each other with the most radical piece?
Well, there really isn't anything that's cherishable, you might say. Cut it all up, put it back together, and do something original. Let's see some different stuff out here today's competition. We see a lot of the same stuff. Let's go on with it. Get crazy.
Street rodding may very soon become more than an aftermarket industry. We're here in a Chrysler concept car called the Prowler. I'm with Lloyd Heppenstall, who's responsible for getting this car around. And I know a lot of rodders out there would like to know if it actually runs and how good it runs. How about it, Lloyd?
Oh, it performs great. I had it out on the parking lot this morning, and we were doing some photographs for it. And you just barely touch it, and it just screams. It sounds hot. It runs hot. And it's just overall a great car. The performance is great. It hugs the ground real good. It's a very light car, I'd say, in the area of probably around the 2100 mark. And it just screams. It goes.
It's got a lot of power equipment on it, right?
Yes, sir. Everything on here is all power. It's all aluminum body. It's all aluminum frame. It's got a 3.5-liter engine, 24 valves, and a V6. So it does have the horses underneath the hood.
Well, this could be the future of street rodding. Go down to your Chrysler dealers and put in your order. There's a whole lot more to the Good Guys West Coast Nationals than just the cars and all the good guys. We're here at Rick's Restorations, where all these 50s type collectibles are for sale. Now, are all these originals or some repro stuff, Rick?
Some repos. We have the antique apparatus jukebox that's a reproduction piece, and these jukeboxes, but the rest of the Coke machines, the gas pumps, and the other stuff's all original out of the 40s and 50s.
Really first class. Well, when it comes to living legends in the world of street rotting, nobody can top Norm Grabowski. We're here with Norm, and Norm, it's been a few years since you built a car, hasn't it?
We started this thing in 1989. I talked to Mickey Laurier from Total Performance. I said, Mickey, I got an idea. I got this car in mind, and what do you think?
And when you have an idea, you better stand back, because it's going to be different.
Well, he said, are you sure you want to go through with this? Because once you start, you can't stop. And I said, yeah, I want to go through with it.
Now, when you get an idea for a car, do you picture the whole thing, or does it kind of come together as you're working on it?
On this one, I saw it in my mind. And I had Franco, I said, okay, draw me a 29. Now take the top off. Now put a Duval windshield on. Now put this shell on it. And okay, now flame it, and all this. So I had it in mind already what the car's going to look like. But I'm very pleased that it's even better now, that it's real.
And the bullet holes, even you thought about those up front?
We've been getting a lot of comment over the bullet holes, that's for sure.
It's one of those little Grabowski touches.
I guess. I don't know. I'm just the Pollock. What can I do?
In today's world of high-tech hot rods, there's still a tremendous and growing interest in what they call resto rods, or early period rods, and this is a really prime example. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Scott Mays.
Scott, what kind of car is this?
This is a 1927 Model T, or it was, the body was. Everything else is pretty much resto period out of the 40s or 50s. The youngest part on the car is about 1960, but it's what people were driving on the dirt tracks in the early 50s.
Right. So you intentionally set about to make it look like an early period car.
Exactly. There's no plastic, there's no fiberglass, and there's no real new stuff on it, although the parts that keep it safe are new.
The all-American hot rod. How would you define it? A lot of people would say this type of car, a Norm Grabowski-inspired kooky T-Roadster, would be it. One just like this was seen for years in 77 Sunset Strip, the TV show. We're walking along what is called the real hot rod area. This section is set aside for cars that meet a certain criteria and, for the most part, don't use any of the high-tech equipment or billet parts that you see on a lot of the other rods here. Now, what actually are the criteria here for the real hot rods?
No store-bought parts, everything from a junkyard or hand-fabricated, and no funny paint jobs, no pastels. Just real hot rods. Red or black is the primary color.
I see. And did you build this car?
I bought it from the guy that built it, but I owned it for almost 20 years. Right. And so I rebuilt it. My name's Tom Vandenberg.
A real hot rod. Is this the place to be?
You bet. This is the place where they park all of the real cars.
So there it is. Anybody can buy a street rod, but you got to build a hot rod.
Hey, nice, sir.
Everybody that's been in hot rodding for any length of time has heard of Row-Tex Smith. If not, has been touched by him in some way, and in a positive way. I know myself, Tex, you helped me out, and I sure thank you for it. How has hot rodding grown over the years, and in general attitudes as well as the machinery?
Well, it's interesting you used the word hot rodding instead of street rodding there. We started out with the word hot rod, and it was a dirty word. We had to clean it up. So in the early years, early 50s, we spent all our time doing that. And the cars in those days were your only form of transportation. You know, that's what you drove was what you had, and that's what you would run at the lakes or at the drags or whatever. But the appearance of the cars has just absolutely become phenomenal, and that, I think, is really the change. There is another change in the spirit of the hobby. You know, whenever you drive your car down the road and everybody gives you the thumbs up and yeah, right on and everything, everybody has to smile when they see one of these cars. Everybody giggles, you know, especially when you're in the rain in the Roadster, right? Yeah, they all giggle.
With your head up against the windshield.
Yeah, because you're getting hail all over you. But there's an attitude, something about this thing, you know, the old have fun with an old car really does apply to street rodding, and I think that's the thing that has come across so much to the guys that, you know, have decided they're 40 or 45 years old. They want to get into this hobby. They take a look at that and they say, that's fun. I want to do that. And then once they get into it, their wife says, this is keen. And the family says, I like doing this. Let's do this. And it's a little different than other family activities, family pastimes. So
you've seen a growth in the family unit being involved.
Oh, absolutely. You remember early on we'd run out to the lakes and we were, you know, just the guys and their buddies. If you go out to the lakes today, it's a family that's out there. So most certainly in all aspects, whether it's restorations or muscle cars, it has grown up.
Right. Well, it's grown, and with a lot of help from you, Row-Tex Smith, one of the living legends in street rodding. That has more fun at a street rod event than Wild Bill Brunham. Bill, you're having a good time today?
I'm having a great time. I mean, this is just fantastic. I can't believe it. It's just better and better and better every year.
Just keeps growing. How about the intensity, it seems like, for guys to outdo each other and come up with wilder and wilder creations? That seems to be really intense here at the West Coast Nationals.
Well, you know, that's what makes it work. A guy can do it out of a wrecking yard, or he can do it with money. And some of the trick and novel ideas get copied, and someone said, I can do better than this, I can do better than that. And they do it, and so we have an event like this with cars that are just undescribable.
It just seems like the West Coast Nationals here brings out, this is where these guys want to debut and top each other every year.
Well, that's true, and I don't think there's a problem with that. I think it just makes this sport so healthy. There are cars from all over the United States here. Guys have driven them from all over the United States, and they want to come to Pleasanton. And it's just so neat to see guys walk up and say, hey, Bill, what do you think of my new ride? Oh, just love it.
And that inspires and filters down to the budget builder as well, right?
Yes, because a lot of this stuff can be economically done at home in your garage. And a guy who is a builder at heart can look at this and say, I can do that. And that's what we like about this hobby. And he can make it as radical, as much of a concept as you want, or he can make it traditional. But the concepts, the new blood, the new ideas, new people are moving in, and it's just going gangbusters. It's just gangbusters.
That's super. The neat thing about street rodding, ideas are free. The development of the street rod aftermarket has paralleled the growth and popularity of the hot rod itself. As demands increase, so did the speed equipment industry, which now employs thousands and generates profits in the millions. Just as the handcrafted cars have taken full advantage of the ever-advancing technologies, so has the industry, utilizing space-age materials and manufacturing techniques. Not to mention the aid of computers and their many uses from machining to marketing.
in motorsports. You know, if you'll notice out here, maybe 2 and 3 years old have a favorite car like a 57 Chevrolet up to their grandparents that brought them out here. There is no age limit in this sport. Motorsports is the #1 growing spectator sport in the whole world today. The love of the automobile is usually the first love that a guy has, and the whole family partakes in it. So I would say it's grown.
This car's gorgeous, but nothing in this whole place can match Linda Vaughn when it comes to looks, and she's a smart lady too. Linda, we're loving having you here, and how do you like Pleasanton?
Oh, I think it's great. You know, you named this city right, Pleasanton. It's real pleasant to be here. Everybody's nice, and it's a family affair going on out here today.
Absolutely. That's the neat thing about it. The kids have a ball, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, everybody.
Next door neighbors. Yeah. So y'all come on out. It's a show for everybody. It's wonderful.
It sure is. And, you know, you seem to show up every place. You're just a busy gal in motorsports.
Well, it's time-consuming, but it's fun. I enjoy the racing. You know, I get to go to the stock car races, the Indy car races, the drag races, and the car shows. So I pull it all together.
And they all love you. And I tell you what, Boyd's Cars and Linda Vaughn doesn't get any better than this.
Thank you.
We're seeing things here this year, Bill, that like we've never seen before. What's going on the leading edge?
Well, I'm looking at this, and I'm an old traditional hot rodder, but I see concept cars being built, still identifiable as the mark that they were, but now we're into concepts. We're into stuff that is so radical. It's a new thing that I'm excited about. As long as these cars remain identifiable, it's just new, and Rodding just continues to grow this way. It started out with an old highboy with white wall tires and flat motor, and today you can barely recognize, but you can recognize the car as a concept. It may be a 32 Ford or whatever. There's a particular car here, a little black 29 highboy from down in Los Angeles area, that he has taken that car and created a concept of what a 29 highboy would have liked to look like 30 years ago. And this is what I see, and it's radicalness, but radical with identification. And their concepts I think is the best word.
They told us how old you are. We don't believe it, but happy.
What distinguishes Good Guys events from other street rod events? Well, you'll find both hot rods and custom cars here, as depicted by this beautiful white 32 Roadster and this turquoise 51 Ford soft top. Yes, the Good Guys like the custom cars as well as the street rods, and you'll find them both here at the West Coast Nationals. Just about the time that you think you've seen every 33, 34 Ford sedan in the world and they all look the same, you come across a beautiful example of what can be done differently in a very beautiful way. This is Don Ingalls. Is this a 33, Don?
Yeah, 1933 two-door sedan. It's all Jaguar suspension, front and rear, and the front's controlled with torsion bars, and I got hydraulic cylinders so it can go up or down, and the rear coilover shocks are mounted with cylinders so that you can raise or lower that for depending on weight or load or the aesthetic you want for the car. So just kind of a fun car, kind of something different.
Yeah. Don, the 33, 34 Ford coupe sedans and roadsters are definitely one of the popular styles that street rodders work with. Why did you choose this model?
Well, I like the flowing lines, the rounded fenders. It just seems to be 32s were the real hot car for so many years, and then the little more rounded fender look kind of come in. They just seem to be a really popular car. I particularly like the design of them myself and just went for it from there.
A hot rod, well, it can be really any car, but usually it's older cars that are customized. That means fixed up to either enhance the speed or appearance of the car, or both. The neatest thing about it is that you not only have fun building the car, but once you get done with it, you can ride around and go places to rod runs like the Good Guys West Coast Nationals here and really have some fun. As an artist, I like to draw cars, and you can draw them any way you want, different colors, different styles. But these guys that build these cars are artists too in their own right, because they're using metal and parts and engines and paint to create really a piece of rolling artwork that we call a hot rod. The future of hot rodding is brighter than ever. What was once considered a fringe group of reckless youths has matured into an accepted social phenomenon, a constructive and ever-growing place for individuals and families to explore the unlimited potential of this uniquely American automotive art form. There's no more exquisite an example of the All-American Roadster than this beautiful 33 Ford.
It's amazing that the street rodding it's got such great potential now. It's, you know, in Beverly Hills they're buying street rods instead of Ferraris, or they buy both. It has a mystique. It's like you look at a beautiful woman, right, and you go, why am I attracted to her? Why? She's a piece of art. She's beauty. She's, you know, you can't explain it. There's things that you really can't explain, but there's the drawing that you like that, you know. And street rodding has that. See, it's got that. The first time I saw a 32 Roadster, I went, "Oh yeah, oh, it's that bitchin'," you know. And that's kind of what it's about. There's no telling where it's going. I hope the government doesn't ruin it. You know, I hope that the people will still enjoy it and just, you know, live with it and create more. And because there's any idea works here. There's so many off-the-wall ideas, and that's what also makes it great. And you start getting doctors and lawyers owning street rods, and that also, you know, it's not just a kid around the corner that takes the fenders off the car anymore. It's got some big people in street rodding.
The street rod movement today is definitely a lot more than Fords and Chevys. To tell us about these cars here is Rob Frazier. What are we looking at, Rob?
Well, we've got the Willys Roundup here at the Good Guys West Coast Nationals. It's a first-time event here. This is sponsored by Ida Automotive. They're a reproduction company. They manufacture fiberglass Willys bodies. Willys, as you may know, were amazingly popular drag race cars because they were so light and somewhat aerodynamic back in the 50s and 60s. And they're right now enjoying great popularity. The Be Different type craze has the Willys have filled that very well. And I guess it's fairly obvious and fairly easy to see where the baddest cars at the whole West Coast Nationals are today.
Well, we can see you're not prejudiced for Willys, but they definitely are unique, and they make a great hot rod. As you say, they were used as gas coupes and sedans in the 60s, and not a whole lot of them were on the street back then, but that's changed, hasn't it?
That's absolutely correct. As you see, as the camera goes down the line here, some of the cars have the nose in the air attitude of the old gasser style. Then you see the ones that are down low on the ground, the 90s style cars. So we've got both influences, the nostalgia folks and the 90s freaks.
The Willys industry, so to speak, has taken off, too. There are a lot of guys building repro bodies and parts for these cars now, so they're fairly easy to put together, right?
Yes, that's very true. You can actually get a Willys body, a fiberglass reproduction, within a couple of weeks from some of these companies now, and the quality is fantastic. The reproduction parts, as a matter of fact, the grill you're just getting ready to see on this yellow car, it's a reproduction part by Mike Nordahl from Willys Replacement Parts.
Probably nicer than the original.
Absolutely. Super fine quality. And now here you see a coupe that's down on the ground with a homemade, custom-made grill. Next to it is a brand new car debuted here at the West Coast Nationals. This car belongs to Bill Mullins from Mullins Steering Gears. Purple car, beautiful, gorgeous with ghost flames, the 90s style, beautiful sculpted interior. This is one gorgeous piece.
Great, and speaking of gorgeous, Bill's wife Judy is here. She's going to tell us about this exquisite car. Judy, how long did it take you to put this thing together?
Well, we started the body work in March, and we just completed it about a week before we came here.
Well, that's pretty good time.
It's got a nitro system on it. It's a big block Chevy.
It's obviously the pro street look. Are you going to run it down a drag strip as well?
You bet. That's why it's got the drag chute on the back. We basically set up the interior to where it still looks like a race car, but still has a nice body style, looks good on the outside, and it still looks good on the inside.
I see. So it's a definite combination of show and go, and we're not joking.
Yes, you bet. It's got the power.
After they invented the first hot rod, they started racing, and drag racing was born, and this beautiful Willys here is owned by Marianne Harmon. Do you have a need for speed, Marianne?
Yeah, anymore. The older you get, the faster you need to go.
I heard that.
Yeah.
All these cars are seeing you're reading a book.
Don't tell.
It must be a good book.
It's a really good book.
3,000 cars here and you're reading.
I looked at every one of them. I did.
This is one of the most fantastic events I've ever been to. We've gone to some 100,000 rod runs, but this run has got it all.
It's not that old, but there's a lot of people here that go back to their younger days when they come to these.
Do you think there's a mystique to street riding?
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but I'm here and I got it.
Out in Muroc, Grey Lake, and some of those other places, they used to race in the streets like they do this stuff around here now once in a while. You got to have a place for them to race.
The 7th annual Good Guys West Coast Nationals is coming to a close. We've met some of the living legends of street riding, talked about a lot of changes over the years, but one thing has never changed. Street riders are having just as much, if not more, fun than ever. For all the good guys at Main Event Video, this is Kenny Youngblood. Thanks for joining us.
We can't help it, we're so bitchin'.